Now, one of the best ways to consistently do externalization, and it's fine to keep a notebook or have somebody to talk to, but there's often the question of, well, what do I talk about? Or what do I write? What do I write down? There's, there's a little bit of uncertainty there. And so the general process that I use is a term called self-elicitation.
All right.
Which is a fancy psychological way of saying, ask yourself questions.
Oh,
okay?
All right.
So if you are, and it's kind of going back to the fivefold how and the fivefold why, that's a form of self-elicitation. You're asking yourself, why do I want this? Or how would I do that?
Right.
And the more you do that, the more questions you ask yourself. It's almost like the one part of your brain is asking yourself a question and another part of your brain is answering it.
Yeah.
The more questions you ask yourself and translate into some external form, the more you can figure out how you would actually do things, which is a wonderful way of solving your own problems, of planning projects. I want to do this. Well, how would I do that? What's important? Here's all the steps. A large part of this course, what it's designed to do ultimately is help you ask yourself good questions about the things that you're working on, because you already know what's important.
Right.
You already know what's essential, in a business or how to get these things done. And you can start asking yourself questions about, well, how would I do this? Or why are we doing it this way? Why not do it another way?
Yeah.
And, even in terms of behavioral change, this is a fascinating thing that one of the newer books on the list is called Self-Directed Behavior. It's one of the only textbooks on the list, and it's awesome because it basically summarizes all of the latest experimental and psychological literature on how to change your behavior effectively.
Wow. I have to read it.
Yeah, it's really good. One of the things that they talk about is how do you change a behavior that's undesirable? And one of the ways that they recommend is externalizations. So you keep a notebook, and there's a specific thing, they call it ABC, antecedent behavior and consequences.
Okay.
And there's a list of questions. So the antecedent is what happened before the behavior.
Right.
Okay. So when did it happen? Whom were you with?
Right.
What were you doing? Where were you?
Right.
What were you saying to yourself? What thoughts were you having, and what feelings were you having? Okay. So before, antecedent. Behavior is what were you saying for yourself? What did you do?
Right.
What thoughts did you have? What feelings did you have? What actions were you taking? Okay. And then consequences. So what happened as a result?
Okay.
And was it pleasant or unpleasant?
Okay.
Okay. And it's a good way of giving yourself a structured form of asking yourself questions about what it is that you're doing. And by doing that, you're able to actually come up with some somewhat surprising insights or relationships that you otherwise may not have noticed.
Makes sense.
Based on your behavior.
Cool.
So self-elicitation, as a general rule, ask yourself as many questions as you possibly can. And the more questions you ask yourself, and if you take the time and externalize the answers to that, you will make progress surprisingly quickly.